moving, depression, and the evil eye. What do they all have in common? Well, my guest today, Bilal Sozer, is going to take us through his journey, and may it support you wherever you are. Bilal, are you ready to take us through a squeeze, the squeeze, wherever you've been at?
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. Why don't you share with us, what this is about, which is just share where you're at. Like, how are you today? Right? This is human. So how are you doing today?
I mean, overall, I'm pretty good today. Pretty stressful program, as you know, that I'm in. So every day it's just trying to get through to the next. A lot of stress, but, we work through it.
And what are you doing to work through it? Because I think it's part of that that's going to help other people to navigate where they're at.
Yeah. So, like, the biggest thing for me, I noticed is when I'm in a stressful time personally, sitting at home, not doing anything, and just kind of dealing with the stress that way is the worst. I kind of did that at the beginning of the program where I would just sit at home. I'm moving to a new city like Ottawa. The biggest thing for me was doing the things I love. So, I went out, found a soccer team, met people, made friends. And for me, the biggest thing to get through difficult times is community support. So those people around you, honestly, for me, is the biggest.
So you kind of had two squeezes at once when you moved here from Edmonton. I mean, still
Yeah.
Canadian, fabulous.
Yes.
We, of course, welcome everyone. But so which was more stressful? I mean, where was the stress maybe that?
I think it was being away from home was the harder one. And honestly, like, school is difficult, but I have a background already in a bachelor's. But um, being away from home, being away from my mom, my sister, my family, it's not easy. Your friends, so you feel really alone. You feel by yourself, and then the added stress of school. I dropped a lot of the things I love to do. I wasn't playing soccer. I wasn't going to the gym. I was honestly a little depressed. So, being able to get out of that was the best thing. Getting back on my feet.
Mm-hmm. So when and I mean, I've experienced being depressed, and I'm sure many people that are going to be listening. Um, there's something that you shared about being in community to do that. However, how do you experience that on your own? Because we're living through these things day to day. Is there
Mhm.
practices that you do that, even if that stress comes up when you're in the
Mhm.
moment, are there things that you do that you become that helps you in that self-awareness aspect?
Like awareness, as in being aware that I am depressed, kind of thing, or.
Well, sure, you know that that's happening. Your mind is telling you that. Your
Mhm.
body is telling you that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It's, how do you make that transition, right? Like, without, maybe there's people around all the time, because we don't have people around all the time, and
That's
I don't
true.
suspect most people call to, hey, I'm stressed, I'm this all the time, right? There's a part of it that
Exactly.
we need to do, and we're living on our own and doing these things. So how do you navigate that?
That's obviously the most, like, that's difficult, right? Like I said, I always kind of reach out to friends or family for when I'm in those situations, but I kind of just try to look at it from another perspective. I kind of try and do the things that I like, the things that I love. Maybe I'll bake myself a cake, something that I love to do when I'm on my own. So it gives me that joy. Honestly, I don't feel the same joy from being around people that, support me, or doing the things that I love. But those little kind of things, I'll, maybe treat myself to a nice home cooked meal or something like that. And it kind of gives me a little boost.
So those are two different versions of joy, is what you're saying.
Very, very.
And so the latter, being you for you, is where you find a greater sense of,
Is in community. I'm huge on
okay,
community support.
okay. But when you're making a cake or whatever for yourself, where does that sit in terms of that self, right? Like, that's
Hmm.
self-awareness, that's self-discovery. You're
Hmm.
saying that that kind of bubbles up and and brings you some
It
joy
does.
for you, right? You for
Exactly.
you. And I think that's
Exactly.
huge, right?
Yeah.
So many people, and I can only really speak for myself. I'm just gonna, ask the audience again, share, but how do you navigate it? Because I think, I know when I moved, big city, smaller city than I was at, but didn't come with anyone here. A sister
Hmm.
who, she had her own life going on.
Hmm.
Um, so really getting into that community,
Hmm.
is difficult at times. I
Very.
wasn't someone in team sports, so I've only recently explored that, right? And I'm like in my 50s, right? So it's very different, our upbringings, so how was your support system? I mean,
Yeah, so like a big thing that I noticed, a lot of people, especially, here is a lot better from out west. Um, I feel like people here are more willing to be friendly, willing to be more community and help people out. Um,
yay,
Honestly,
Ottawa.
not yeah, honestly, not as much as overseas. Like when I went back home to Turkey, it was very, very different. Community support is life there. Like you can go to a cafe, you don't even know these kids, and they'll be upset that you're sitting by yourself and you're not sitting with them. So
Ah,
it's a very different kind of thing. So, I went there for the first time when I was younger, and I was so worried because I didn't know anybody, know any friends, but first day made friends. Then they came every day to my grandma's house to pick me up. So it's very, very different than here. I feel like people in Canada are a little bit scared to make friends. And I mean, it is true, there are strangers that you have to be aware of, and we're taught that. That's also a really important thing. But I feel like we need to be more open, be more friendly. We have to take care of our people because at the end of the day, we're all human.
right. Yeah, that's exactly what this is about. It's us being human. So let's get on to a little bit of a, we're human. However, when experience someone that's not able, right? They're not at the same um, place that you're at, because we're all at different levels, different perspectives of what we're experiencing. What is it that you might do, I guess, to draw that out of someone? Because I'm sure even in your own school, you have a wide range of students that are there. How does that
Very,
sort of
yeah.
play a factor for your own? I'm going to use it more because I want to keep coming back to that self-awareness part, right? How do you take what you're learning about the other to continue to maybe bring yourself up, right? Like, where does that sit for you? How do you navigate that?
Um, like you were saying, like my school's very large, so we're about a group of 80 kids, and we work together almost every day. Everyone comes from some different type of background and some different type of situation, right? We don't know everything that's going on in their lives, but it's really nice to meet so many different types of people and to be able to learn things from them, to actually better yourself as well. I've made a couple really good friends who've taught me a lot of really good things and just benefited me personally a lot.
So, do you have any practices um, that you would do for yourself personally, right? That, yes, the cake and those types of things, 100%. Um, I just want to explore, are there other things in terms of, do you do any kind of, I don't know, meditation? Do you walk? You have your groups,
Oh
except
yeah,
there's a certain amount of life that has to
for
be that,
sure.
well, has to, you get to choose, but is that inner part, right? So how's that? Because your whole life isn't studying, even
Of
though your
course.
school might think so. Sorry, school.
I love, like, if I definitely walk every day. I feel like that is like one of my favorite things to do if I'm stressed out, if I'm down. And Ottawa is just such a beautiful place. Like, the paths here are amazing. So I do really love to go out. I don't meditate per se, but a lot of Turkish people, we come from a very like spiritual kind of sense of thought. So we definitely believe in different things that kind of help better ourselves, and we believe in good eyes, bad eyes. It's I don't know if you know about the little like evil eye, those kind of things. They're very,
Share with
very
others,
important.
though. Just because I do, please share with others because they may
Yeah,
not.
so this is kind of as simple as I can make it, but we
I'll put a
definitely
picture
believe.
up. I'll drop it in at some point so that people
Sure,
see it.
sure. We
We
definitely
can.
believe in good karma and things like that. But we also do believe that there are always going to be people who kind of prey on your downfall or kind of want to give you bad energy. So we do believe in like a spiritual thing called a nazar bonjo, which is the evil eye, which people see all over Turkey. That kind of protects us. So we have little things like that. Like we have them in our homes all the time, and it's important to us. So
Mhm. So do you use it as a reflection tool? Is that the idea? Or you
Not
allow
necessarily. It's more of a protection.
or I don't know that part
It's more
enough.
of like a protection kind of
Okay.
thing.
So
Yeah.
curious what other people do. Drop that because that's really interesting. And for those that know what it is, 100%. So now this is interesting because when you say we're taught as Turkish, right? Great. That doesn't mean necessarily, I'm just going to throw it out there, that all Turkish people continue that
No, definitely not.
or that
Even
belief system. So
yeah.
this is where you've chosen, you're saying that that's
Mhm.
bigger in your own family. Is that the
Mhm.
idea? And
Yeah, so a lot of Turkish people who are more religious, like towards like Islam, they don't believe in that. They actually are very against it, which it's understandable in like in that religion. Only God can protect you is how they look at it. So they don't believe like this evil eye should protect you. They actually believe it's something bad. So it's very split. Like it's not all Turks in Turkey believe in it. Um, but I come from a mother who's a little bit more free spirit and not as religious and kind of believes in what she believes in. So it kind of came down on me as well.
Mhm, mhm. Now you have siblings.
I have
So
two.
how does that play a factor in you becoming more self-aware? And again, I'm going to keep pulling it back to,
Yeah, growing up, honestly, was really tough. Both of my parents are refugees, respectively. You know, my dad came from Serbia from the Civil War. My mom came from Turkey, with issues going on in Turkey. So, very difficult. I know growing up, it was really, really hard for us. My parents worked 24/7, and as I remember, it was like my seventh birthday, and my one wish was to have a sibling. And my mom's like, "What do you want? Do you want a boy or a girl?" And I'm like, "Mom, I want both." And it just happened to, eight a year later, and so I'm about 8 years older than them, so I'm a huge role model for them, and I know that my actions really will teach them at
Mhm,
more than I feel like my parents will teach them, right?
mhm,
Especially for my sister, I can see she really loves to go under my wing, so um, I would die for that girl. She's my everything.
right. So do you feel pressure in that though?
Of course, of course. It's not simple being a role model or being an older brother. Especially it comes with that a little overprotectiveness. I'm always worried about what she's doing and if she's okay, especially being so far away now.
Mhm,
It's really been hard on me. Like I try to call her when I can, I try to FaceTime her when I can, but I don't feel like it's enough.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, there's
Oh,
definitely pressure with it.
right. And I guess that's part of we have these pressures that come and these expectations that we can put on ourselves even, right? To do enough, right? So that we're doing enough for another person. So do you ever so I guess there's a couple things that came up for me. One which is you have a beautiful, the way it sounds, a beautiful Turkish upbringing, your family and all of that. Do you ever, I know I like to explore this because I needed to do this for myself. Do you ever question your Turkish, like certain aspects of what you were taught?
Um, Not really. Like my mom is not one of those parents who are like, this is the way it is. You have to stick to this way. So I've never felt that I had to follow it. I just
Mhm,
felt that, hey, this is what I want to follow. My parents are very, very open, like to me trying anything. And I feel like that's really important in parenthood. I've noticed I have a lot of friends who are like, oh, you have to be Christian, you have to be Muslim, you have to believe in these things. And once they get to an age, they kind of just bubble up and then they just break and then they go do things completely outside of it. So I feel like that's actually a negative way to enforce that on your children. But thanks to my mom, she gave me the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do, and I kind of stuck to my roots. I'm
mhm.
pretty in love with my country and my people. So
Yeah. And good. That's wonderful. And for myself, because this is about conversation and some vulnerability. And again, if anyone chooses when we're speaking here, that wasn't my upbringing, right? Like mine was very much very religious and very. This is there's
mhm.
the wait till your father gets home. Let's use
Yeah,
that.
so that's exactly what I was saying. That yeah.
Um, and and yet I have siblings. There's six of us, right?
Mhm.
Except the older ones had that approach where they did do whatever once they got to a certain point, but it really wasn't until you were out of the house that you had a form of
Understanding of yourself.
yeah. And then each, like the beauty and the brilliance is each took a different approach and of how they do that, because we are all so different, right? And I was the slowest in the group, shall I use it that way, which is why something like this is so important, because I felt like I lost so much of myself, my family, everybody's leaving, and I'm like, I was, keeping things together in my way, right? So I held myself back, right? Where you're like, oh, go do whatever. You had that instilled, right? Which is so beautiful. Which allows you to flourish differently. And I think that's what this is about. Let's talk about, though, because I think we don't want to go too much longer, but let's talk about, you've got the squeeze and now you talk the joy, right? You've got the laughter on the other side, because this big thing is about, why would I call something like this giggles and growth? It's not funny when we have these challenges. And yet on the other side, that's the only way we learn, right? Right. So you have the joy. What is maybe, I don't know, a good laugh, I'm going to say, at yourself, with yourself, that you might have experienced, realizing, oh yeah. Do you do that ever?
Oh, like kind of like underestimated myself, and then I kind of like laugh about it.
Exactly. Like hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah.
Anything?
I mean, I went through a lot during COVID. There was like a lot of times where it was just really stressful. I actually gained a whole lot of weight, and I was in a squeeze. I was really, really depressed, really, really unhealthy, and I was living away from home. And I remember calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, it's time for me to come home. It's time for me to fix. And my mom was just laughing on the phone. She was like, I knew day was going to come. Everything was going to be better for my son. So I came home in the span of 6-7 months. I lost around 90 pounds of weight. I got back to healthier than I've ever been. All my health conditions gone, everything. And then I look back at the photos and I just laugh constantly. And I was like, how did this ever happen to me? How did like the Bilal now, like me, ever allow that? But, once again, like you said, we get into these squeezes where we just get trapped. But once again, family support, my mom, my sister especially, they've helped me every day.
And then you walk away with new tools. So what's maybe what's a tool you can drop for people? Because let's go with people that don't have family, right? That maybe don't have the community support. I mean, I guess probably the tool might be find some form of community, because that's really important. So if you're someone that doesn't have community or is searching community, drop that below, because that's a tough one for a lot of people. Right. And how do you navigate that? But is there something else that you're like, if people would do this is totally what I would, the stamp of approval from,
So everybody's different. Sports might not be your thing. You might have other hobbies, but I think the biggest thing is joining a group. Like how you were joining the dragon boat racing and you met completely new people you don't know, but I'm sure you made friends out of it. You had a great time. You feel that sense of belonging. I think that's like a really important thing that people don't believe in, but a sense of belonging is a really important thing for us. So like I said, I like to join sports teams. I like to join different groups. Those kind of things really, I think, are the biggest tool, as long as you're around good people. Obviously, there's always going to be people out there who, may not be for you. But I feel like Ottawa is a wonderful place. I've really enjoyed it here. The people here are amazing.
And it's we're not all going to like everyone, but I think it goes back to what you originally said. We're all human, and that's what this is about. We're all human. You don't have to agree, except how do you look at that perspective, and wow, right? And how might that be me? And and then be grateful for where you're at, and then be excited for what's to come, because you're not done, right?
No.
You're only going to finish doing dental hygienistry or however it's termed. Going to get into that, the next realm, right?
Next chapter of my life, of course. Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to share with everyone, or just before we close it off?
I think I'm good.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much. And
Of course.
again, everyone, I know I said lots of things. There's lots that came up in this, and this is just another episode about these lighthearted adventures of self-awareness, right? Where are we coming from, and how do we move through life squeezes, feeling mentally empowered? Because it's our emotions and it's our mindset that's really taking us through these big squeezes and helping us to rise up to another version of ourselves. So, like I'm going to share time and time again, keep giggling, keep growing, and keep shining bright, because that is what this world needs. And for anyone else that would like to be a part of this and share your story, or just join the I Am One movement, meaning I'm one person that does stand committed for continuing to explore more of who I am and what's my potential. I invite you just follow the links below, and we will see you again on another episode. Take care.